Hello everyone and welcome back to this video series on how to make an aircraft in Autodesk Fusion 360. So in the previous two videos we set up the blueprints and we also made the bulk of this fuselage section. Again, we've not added much detail here, but that would be for a later video. Okay, so in this video we're going to be making the wings of the aircraft. So knowing what detail you want to go into is really important in this specific video because it will change a lot of things, or it might change a lot of things for you. So again, if you're doing this purely for visual purposes or just for fun, I don't think it matters too much what airfoil you choose. However, if you're doing this for aerial vehicle design, or you're doing this for group design project, or you're doing this for something even more professional, and especially if you're doing this for CFD, I think it's very, very important that you choose the correct airfoil that you have designed this aircraft wing with. So the method I will be showing you here is not very accurate, but it's reasonable enough to show you that yes, we have used an actual airfoil and we've swept it with the correct geometry of the wing. So what we want to do first is select the airfoil. So the way you want to do this is, if you know what aircraft you're already making, you can pretty much go to Google, type in the name of the aircraft and see what airfoil section that aircraft uses. So in this case, I found this one picture that shows all the airfoils that are used in the Boeing 737, which is the aircraft that we're making. And we have the root airfoil, which is the airfoil that is used at the root section. And if you don't know what a root section is, it's basically where the fuselage attaches to the wing. Then we've got midspan, which is the middle section of the wing, and then we've got outboard, which is near the wingtips. But again, for the simplicity of this tutorial, I'm just going to be using the root airfoil, which is the one outlined in black, and we are going to sweep this outwards. One more thing you want to look for in an airfoil section is the chord. So I think it's very important that this straight black line is visible to you that goes from the start of the airfoil to the back of the airfoil, or in more aero terms, that's the leading edge to the trailing edge. So this chord line, the straight line, is very important. Okay, so this is a picture that we are going to trace in Fusion 360. Again, if you want to be more accurate for this, there is a tool that is called airfoil DAT, and what this does, it basically imports a DAT file, and what Fusion does is it plots a spline with that airfoil. So your airfoil section is incredibly accurate. Again, if this is something you're doing for CFD, I highly recommend using this video. There are some great tutorials on how to use this one. You can go ahead and check those out. Okay, but for this video, I'm going to be taking a slightly simpler approach. Okay, so like we did with the blueprints for the entire aircraft, we're going to be importing a canvas. So insert from computer, and I'm going to be selecting that. And the face that we want to select this on is the right one, because this is where our root section will lie. So it's really small right now, so I'm just going to scale it up a little bit. And somewhere there should do. Okay, then I'm going to move this to somewhere where I can guess where the airfoil section would be placed. So I'm going to guess over here. So somewhere like that. So you basically just want to place this near the, if I hide the fuselage right now, so you can see where this line, so where my mouse is right now, if you just follow that line, it could be somewhere there. And if you follow the back line, that sort of follows up until there. So, but let's see how this goes. What we want to do is create a new sketch on the same plane, and I'm going to select the line tool, and now I'm going to trace that chord out. So I'm going to go from the leading edge, and we want to follow this black line that is straight, and we want to go all the way to the back and finish that line. Okay, so now if I press escape, and you can see that we have this line over here. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go onto the top view. Now you can see on the top view that this is the line that we've created. So you can see we've made a pretty good approximation here, because the wing would have, if you follow my mouse, the wing would have ended somewhere here. Okay, and we're just a little bit off, and what we can do is, because the sketch is not constrained, we can basically just click on this white dot and take it a bit on the left, and what this does, it just shortens the line that we drew. Okay, and now let's look at the front. So if we follow the same line of the front of the wing, so this gradient, and if you're following my mouse, just approximately lands over there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to take it over there. Again, even in this process, if you want to go a little bit more in detail, what you could do is draw a sketch on the top plane and make sure that the lines intersect. Okay, so this new blue line is where the airfoil should start and where the airfoil should end. So now we're going to recalibrate our airfoil section. So I'm going to press edit canvas, and I'm just going to move it till it reaches the end. But you can see that the airfoil is quite big right now. So we're going to just scale it a little bit more. And there we go. So that was a little too much. So I'm going to scale it a little bigger and see where that goes. Okay, maybe it's smaller. A little bit more. And I think I'm happy with that. So all we've done here is we've taken the canvas again and we've scaled it up and down to make sure that our new blue line is the one that the chord length is following. Okay, good. So now what we want to do is we're going to create a new sketch on the same plane, and now we're going to trace out the airfoil section. So the one I'm going to trace out is the big black one over there. Okay, again, at this point, instead of just tracing this out, you could use the airfoil dat to spline method that I was talking about. And again, there are many tutorials on this, so you can go and check them out. But again, for this one, I'm just going to trace it manually. So spline, control point spline. And the first thing I want to do even before doing that is project the line that we made earlier. So now we have the chord length, and now we're going to create a new spline. And I'm going to roughly follow the black one over there. And again, when we're using control spline method, it's pretty easy to manipulate the control points after you're done. And again, in general, the more curvature you have, the more points you ideally want around that area. There we go. Okay, now there's one constraint that I would like to apply, and that is the tangent constraint. So just going from here to here, and it should apply that tangent constraint for you. I'm just going to edit that a little bit so that it follows it well. Okay, so that's our airfoil done. Now we no longer need the canvas, so I'm just going to leave that there, and here we go. So we have now this root section airfoil ready to go. So we have the upper half and we've got the lower half. I'm going to bring back the bodies, and here we are. So you can see that this is basically in the plane of symmetry, which is perfect. Okay, so the next thing we want to watch out for is the dihedral angle. So if you don't know what the dihedral angle is, it's just basically an angle that the wing makes with the horizontal. So we have the horizontal line over here, if you follow my mouse, and we've also got the line that the wing is making. And that gamma over there is what the dihedral angle is. So if we come back to our 737, you can see that our 737 also has a dihedral angle. And again, I don't really know what the exact value is. A lot of these things can be confidential. So, but if you manage to find it, that's great. So the method I'm going to be using here is I'm going to do it by eye. So I'm going to make a plane that follows the path of the wing at the same angle by eye. So it's just going to be an approximation. But again, if you have designed your own aircraft, I think at this point it's good for you to go ahead and check what your dihedral angle is and follow the steps accordingly. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take construct and plane at angle. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow me to make a plane at an angle with respect to the chord. So I'm going to click on the chord length over here, and I'm going to go back to front. And you can see that this yellow line, which is the new plane, isn't quite following the path of the wing. So what I'm going to do here, again, by eye, is I'm going to rotate this plane. And you can see that my dihedral is probably going to be somewhere between 5 degrees and 10 degrees. So 10 degrees looks like it's too much. So my wing would probably end up where my mouse is now. But we don't want that. And what we're going to do instead is leave it at 5 for now. So again, the great thing about Fusion is you can always roll back in time and fix something if something didn't go well. So I'm going to leave it at -5 degrees over here. I'm going to click OK. And the next thing we're going to do, so if you look at the front, you can see that this plane is now at an angle. Okay, now we want to go to the top view, and what we're going to do is we're going to create a sketch on top of this new plane that we've just created. Okay, and again, this is going to give you a slightly skewed view, but what I like to do is I just like to go back on top, and this is just a little easier to sketch. What we're going to do now is we're going to basically follow the geometry of the wing. The first thing we need to do is first we want to project our chord line. So again, just press P, making sure that your specified entities is in place. We want to click on that chord line that we created before and press OK. And what this does is it'll project that chord line onto our current sketch. So once we projected it, you can see that the chord length has also been projected onto the current sketch. So I'm going to start from the trailing, I'm going to start from that bit there. Yep, so that's the trailing edge. And I'm going to go straight up until that point over there. Okay, and then I'm going to take another one and I'm going to go all the way till there. So we're going to deal with the wingtip later, but for now we're just going to leave it somewhere there. Okay, and I'm going to draw a straight line over there as well. Okay, next up we have this one. So I'm going to take this one and I'm going to just take it somewhere there. Perfect. Now, again, if you wanted to be more accurate and take that one into account and you wanted to create this sort of curvature instead, you could do that. But I think, again, for simplicity, I'm just going to leave it as it is. Okay, and then I'm just going to leave it like this. And the reason why I created that line there earlier is so that these two end up in the same position. Okay, that's it. So once we turn around, you can see that what this is doing is it's just got an airfoil section, and we've drawn a path from the chord length that this airfoil is going to follow. So once we're done with that, we're going to finish sketch, and under create, we're going to go to sweep. So instead of saying just a single path, we're going to select path plus guide rail. Okay, so the profile that we want to select are the top and the bottom parts of the airfoil. The path that we want is either of these. So I'm just going to click on the long straight line as the path, and the guide rail is going to be this one. So if it's not letting you select both of them, just make sure your chain selection is selected. Okay, so you can see that in red, it's already created this sort of geometry that our wing is going to have. And you can see it pretty much follows it really, really well. Now, if your thing is not going to its full extent and it's doing it something like this, make sure that this is selected full extent instead of perpendicular to path. So if you select full extent and then you drag it out, it should be able to take the entire path well. Now, instead of saying cut, we're going to say new body. And what this is going to do is it's going to create a new body for our wing. You can see here that it's done a pretty good job. Okay, so now we no longer need that chord line over there, so we can hide that sketch. And let's see whether our dihedral was correct. So you can see it was a good approximation, although I think we can do better. So you can see from the blueprints and the body that our wing tip ended here, whereas the wing tip should have actually ended somewhere over there. Let's have a look from the front as well. So the front agrees too. I think if we increase the dihedral angle a little bit, it should, our wing should, instead of ending up over here, should end up at the right place. So the way to do this is you can just, in the timeline, click on where we made the plane at an angle. So I'm going to double click on that. Oops. I'm going to double click on that, and over here, this is where we entered our value of -5 degrees. So instead of saying -5, let's try -6 and see what happens. Okay, so -6 is almost perfect in my opinion. So you can see that the wing is actually aligned pretty well. Let's have a look from the right hand side. Again, I would say it's pretty good. I think I'm happy with this. If you're not, again, you can just go back and change the value that you had for your dihedral without editing anything else. Okay, so now what we want to take care of are the wingtips. So the one that I've chosen here doesn't really have any weird wingtips or anything fancy. It's pretty straightforward, just an extension. And the way we have to deal with this is we're first going to chop this wing such that the end of it is vertical. Now the way to do that is I just construct a plane and I use that plane as a knife to then cut the wing. I'm sure there are other ways of doing this, but this is the way I use it. So I'm going to construct a plane offset to that face, and I'm going to bring this out till this intersects that line there. So just something like that. And now we're going to go to modify, split body, and the body we want to split is the wing, and the splitting tool we're going to use is the new plane that we've created. And you'll see what it's going to do is it's basically going to chop that up, and when it's done chopping it, our wing will end vertically. So I'm going to press OK, and it's basically created these two different pieces of the wing. So this is one at the end, and this is our main wing. So I'm going to select the one at the end, right click on it, and I'm going to press remove because we don't actually need that bit. Okay, you can also go ahead and hide the plane that we've created right now. Perfect. Okay, so now that this is vertical, we're now going to create a loft similar to how we did for the nose of the aircraft and the back of the fuselage. We're going to create a loft section over here as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a sketch on the wingtip, and I'm going to press P to project the airfoil that we have over here and press OK. And once again, I'm going to press L and draw that chord line once again. Okay, so again, we have our top section and the bottom section of the airfoil. Perfect. Now, we're going to draw that dihedral angle once again. So I'm going to go to Construct, Plane at an Angle, and Plane over there. So selecting the chord as our reference point, remembering that the dihedral we chose was -6 degrees. So I'm going to press -6 over here and press OK. So now we have our dihedral angle that is extending out of the wing at the correct angle, and it's coming out of the new chord that we have created. Okay, now we're going to draw a sketch on top of this plane. Now, again, it's going to be a little unaligned because it's going to be 6 degrees unaligned by the view. So it's okay if you just go back to the top view and trace it from there. Once again, we want to project the chord that we created, so I'm just going to click on that and press OK. Actually, to be a bit more safe, I'm only going to project the 2 points there, and I'm going to press OK. Okay, and now what we're going to do is we're going to follow the rest of the aircraft. So somewhere there, and then I'm going to take a spline and just make a very rough thing here. And now to edit this, I'm just going to click on that black line and do something like that. Okay, and now I'm going to press OK. We also want to make sure that this line is connected to this line so that this becomes a closed surface. Now I'm going to press Finish Sketch. Okay, so like what we had for the nose and the back of the fuselage, we now also have 3 sections here. So one is on the wing, one is on the side of the wing, and one is at the bottom of the wing. So let's go to Surface, Create, Loft. So the first thing we want to make sure is nothing is selected first. Then we want to click on one of the wing profile, one on the side of it, and one at the bottom, and press OK. And what this does is it's basically created the end of the airfoil there. So in case you start getting errors over here, and sometimes I've encountered this too, the way to troubleshoot that is just make sure that this line that we've extended out here, you can just shorten it a little bit and it should be able to loft it properly for you. Again, if you still keep encountering problems, try and troubleshoot it. If you can't, leave a comment below and I will try and help you out. So that's it for the wing. Now what we're going to do is, actually no, it's not for the wing because this is still a surface. So I'm going to hide the main wing body. And remember, when we created a loft with the surface, this is still a surface and we want to patch this up and convert it into a solid. So under the surface workspace, again, we're going to click on patch and click on this airfoil section, press OK, and now we have two of these surfaces that we need to stitch together. So click on stitch, take this surface and that surface and press OK. So now we've got the two bodies, and one of them is the wing tip and one of them is the main. So I'm going to rename this to wing main, and I'm going to rename this one to wing tip. All right, so if the aircraft that you've chosen has a more complicated wingtip, what you can do is similar to how we swept the wing. So first by making an airfoil, then from the top view, we swept out the path that it needs to take. What you can do for the wing tip is exactly the same thing. So you start off with the airfoil over here, and you basically sweep a path for it in 3D such that it takes a shape like that. And it should be able to do it pretty straightforward again. Okay, so that's it for the main basics of the wing. What we're going to do next is work on the empennage. So the empennage is basically the vertical tail and the horizontal tail. And it's going to be a very, very similar way to how we made the wing. So it shouldn't be too long to make the empennage. Alright guys, so that's it for this video. If you'd like to support, please do like and subscribe. If you have any different ways of doing any of the things that I did, please do leave a comment. If you've been able to use this tutorial successfully and used it in any of your projects, I'd love to know what you did with it. And again, if you weren't able to follow completely, I will leave a saved file on my website for you to then follow. Alright guys, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode.